Hey guys, welcome here! In last lecture we generated our project, and in this lecture we'll take a look on its folder structure. So let's start. Go to your configurators, and let's start with E2E folder, and actually this is not important to us, because here you can find all of the files for testing, and we'll not cover testing in this course. So we can close this, and let's go to Node modules. Here are all of the dependencies of your application. So you can find here Angular framework, Ionic framework, Ionic native as a wrapper for your Cordova plugins, and so on. Let's move to resources, and here are all the images of an icon and a splash screen. So this is an image under which will be your application displayed on a device or in emulator, and we will change it later. And here is also image for your splash screen, so basically loading screen. While is your application loading, this will be displayed. Alright, let's close this and let's go to our main folder, src folder. And in app folder we'll spend most of our times. Here are all the components, services, templates. You can find here a main module of our application, app module, that's loading all of others required modules for application as a browser module and Ionic module and the routing module. Here we are bootstrapping our app components, so there is a main component, and you can imagine Angular application as a tree structure of components, and app component is on the top. So it's a root module and it's loaded first, and all of the other components are loaded later and from inside of this app component. So here we are bootstrapping our app component, and here we can find the tabs of our application and all of the pages, and I will explain these folders and the files in the next lectures when we start programming. Okay, so let's close this app folder and let's continue to assets folder. In assets folder you can find all of the static files of our application, so all of the images and icons and so on. Okay, let's continue to environments, and you can find here specific variables for different environments. So for example, here you have variables for a production environment, and here you have variables for your development environment. Alright, let's continue and let's go to theme. And this is basically global styling of your application, and when you will change your color, it will change all of the colors, primary colors of your application. And we will play with these colors later in this course. I think primary color is a blue, and we will change it for an orange or something like this. Okay, so we can close this. And let's go to our global CSS. This is just loading all of the stylings required for our application to be properly styled. So I wouldn't play it much with this file. We can close it. Let's go to our index.html. These are a main template file where we are loading our uproot component. So as you know, we are referencing components by selectors. Here you can see uproot. When you will go to app folder, to our app component, TS file, you can find this selector here. So this component and its template will be loaded inside of this index.html file here. Alright, let's continue with karma config. This is just a configuration file for a testing. This is not really important to us. Here you can find a main TS file, and this is actually one of the first files that is loaded, and it's a bootstrapping module, our app module. Alright, let's continue with Polyfills. So Polyfills will ensure that you will not run in compatibility issues. So for example, if browser or device doesn't support specific feature otherwise supported on modern browsers or other devices, Polyfills will create this functionality virtually, so it will not run in compatibility problems. Okay, we can close this. Let's go to test TS, and this is just file for testing, so we can close this. And let's move to TS config file, and this is just a configuration file for our TypeScript. Okay, so close this, and we can close src folder. Alright, so let's move to git ignore, and git ignore is responsible that all of the files and the folders here that are listed here will be not imported, pushed to GitHub repository, because we don't need to have all of the dependencies, all the node modules on our GitHub repository, because it would be really big size repository. Okay, so let's close this and let's go to angular.json. This is just configuration file for our Angular framework, and you can find here all of the configuration settings, as for example, there is an index file, you can find it in src index.html, there is a main file, and there is a polyfills. So just really configuration file that is required by other code that is responsible for compilation of our application. So we will not do almost any changes here. Maybe we will change maybe prefix here, and prefix is just how our components are generated. So here you can see app prefix. So all of the components are generated with this prefix in selector. So app, about, and so on. So we'll just do small changes in angular.json. Okay, so let's continue with config XML file. And this is just a configuration file for Cordova. And you can find here icons, splash screens for different platforms. So for Android, for iOS, you can find here all plugins that are required to run, and so on. We'll not do any changes here. Here is configuration file for Ionic framework. Not really interests us. Here is a package log.json. So here you can find all of the dependencies and their versions. So because in a package.json you can find all of the main dependencies, but all of these dependencies dependent also on other code. And this other code you can find here, and all of the versions. Alright, let's continue. Package.json, so here are all the dependencies and scripts. Let's continue to tsconfig, and this is just another configuration file for TypeScript. Alright, and now let's continue to tslint. And here you can find all of the linters rules. And linters are basically just the tools that helps you format your code or tells you about formatting issues in your code depending on these rules you specified here. So for example, here you specify that you're indenting by spaces, or max length of the lines is 140, and so on. And it's especially important and useful when you are working in team of developers, so everybody is sharing same formatting as you. Okay guys, so this is a brief introduction of folder structure of our projects. I will cut this lesson here, and in the next lesson we will start actually programming, so get some nice coffee or tea break and see you in the next lecture.